Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unstuck Movement. This platform was created to help you break those chains that have been holding you back in your life. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. So I bring incredible people on the show who've had great breakthrough in their life to prove that it's possible for you in your life. I got to shout out the sponsor of this podcast who makes this thing possible, the Connected Leaders Academy, run by Jose Escobar. The Connected Leaders Academy has helped me and hundreds of entrepreneurs and leaders around the world impact, grow, change their business and their lives, and level themselves up. I would recommend, if you're an entrepreneur or you're thinking about jumping out there into the world of entrepreneurship, make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Find Jose Escobar on Facebook or LinkedIn. All the details about the CLA are in the description for this episode. Today, I want to welcome the amazing, the powerful Carroll Dey to the Unstuck Movement. Now, Carroll has built a distinguished career in Washington, D.C., transitioning from a successful 20-year stint in the wine industry to a thriving real estate career with TTR Sotheby's International Realty, where she has amassed a multi-million-dollar portfolio. Carroll has journeyed through immense personal adversities, including health battles, familial suicide, financial debt, emerging as resilient, joyful, and empowered as ever. Carroll, thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck Movement.
Thank you, Rob, for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
Really happy that you are here and we get to chat today because your story of breakthrough is powerful. And as I start these episodes off every time, I start things off with a question. You ask better questions in life, you get better answers in your life. That leads to bigger breakthroughs. And so we're going to start out. There's a bunch of different avenues we're going to go down in this episode. But one of the issues that you dealt with in your life is your eyesight and how you almost lost your eyesight completely. And you've bounced back with like a full recovery. I'm excited to hear your story on this, but I want to know, what was a single moment of courage for you that led to your breakthrough with your eyesight? And how does that play into your Unstuck story?
Thanks for asking. I was standing on a stage in January of 2022, right after the second patch was taken off of my right eye from cataract surgery. And I was just starting a speakers class here in Washington, D.C. And I was told at the last minute that I had to get up on the stage and introduce myself. And for the first time in years, I could see, even though everybody had masks on. I had clarity in my vision that I thought I had lost because I didn't know I had cataracts and that they were so terrible. So it was really being given my life back again, was regaining my sight on that stage.
That's incredible. How many years had it been since you did not have full vision?
Well, it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know till you know, right? So I thought I had my vision until coming out of COVID. And, you're in four walls by yourself for a few years. And I didn't know. I mean, I was diagnosed with an eye disease when I was 29, but it was something that I didn't believe I really had it. So it was kind of like mind over matter. And I was told I would be blind by the time I was 35, and I've doubled that age now, and I've never lost my sight. But then I was hit by a car in 1999, and I landed on my head, and that exasperated whatever nerve damage happened to my brain at that time. I think probably did not help the quote unquote eye disease. And so then a friend took me to a doctor during COVID, and they put the drops in my eyes, and I could see better with the drops in my eyes than I could without. And the doctor said, you will never, ever lose your eyesight from anything except the terrible cataracts that you have.
Mm.
You have got to have the surgery immediately. And I was like, whoo, what a gift. Cataracts, who knew? And then this amazing doctor here in DC did the surgery and really gave me my life back. So how did it feel? I felt like Alice in Wonderland just went to the greatest event of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's amazing when we're living with some sort of chronic problem and that problem, whatever it is lifted from our life. You're like, oh, this is a whole nother way of living. I did not know this was possible. And it's almost like that's like a visual, physical thing, right? But with people, we have so many limiting beliefs they hold us back. When you can lift the veil on a limiting belief and see life in a whole different way without that, like if you want to call it that cataract, right? Of whatever that limiting belief is, and you see like, oh, this is actually more of who I actually am. This is more of how I can live my life in a more clear and precise and real way. That's a very eye-opening experience. So let's go from like the physical vision to maybe something, a limiting belief that you broke in your life, something that held you back for a long time on the inside. Is there a relatable story with something that you've had a breakthrough in your internal world that had a similar effect to like opening your eyes to more of your potential?
Well, your question is such a great one. Just I'll keep it simple for the moment. Right after coming off the stage, we went in to begin our class, and I hadn't been able to read except for on the computer. Like the written word, even doing a check was hard for me. And when I was handed the binder and opened it, and once again, I had my reading sight back as well. So what's come along with that is being able to, I write really well. I have from Catholic school, I have really good penmanship and I love to write. But what came from it was standing up on that stage and hearing my own voice and realizing that I loved speaking. Fast forward, I did a mastermind in Florida last summer, and the mastermind is born from a man by the name of Bob Berg, who wrote a book called The Go-Giver. And in the mastermind, there's only 7 of us. And what you are there for is to either enhance your business or find your life's purpose. And you have 1 hour to tell your truth. And those people, even though you've never met any of them before in person, those people in that room embrace you. You're vulnerable. You trust them. And that is what led me to being here with you today. Because when they heard my story, they said to me, you've gone from tragedy to triumph, and you need to share your story and help other people. You cannot hold back anymore. So many people, men and women, have been conned. I mean, I don't know about getting hit by a car. That statistic, to live from that is probably not a high one. People have lost their parents to suicide, their children, their friends. Other people have gone through things that I have gone through, but I realized that I had to share my story and find my voice, but really my purpose is through my voice is to help others.
Well, it's so true. Our stories heal once we can take our story from the curse that it might seem that it has been in our life and turn it into a gift, right? We can turn it into a story we tell others that helps us to heal, and our story helps other people to heal. Like it's the most powerful thing you have. That's what testimonies are all about, right? That story is your testimony of your life. And The Go-Giver, what a fantastic book. I have that. It's back here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where, but that's one of my favorites. Such a powerful book, such an important book. Um, I'm not going to ask you to go, blow by blow through your journey because we don't have the hour that you told, but I'd love to hear in maybe a shortened version of like the story of your life, what you've gone through. That I titled this episode "The Resilient Spirit," right? So I feel like you have this story of resiliency. Share a little bit about that journey with us, just to know where you came from.
Well, and thank you. Prior to going to meet with Bob and Kathy in the group, I emailed Kathy. Kathy's Bob's partner, Kathy Tajanel, and I said, this is my story. So, and I did it one through whatever, however many decades. And so when it was my turn and I asked to be last, I thought, I've got this. I'm cool. I can do this. And I started to talk and just sobbed. And everyone at the table was sobbing with me. And you grow through your life with your friends, but you don't capsulate what the journey was. So it's, when I was 15, my parents split up and I had to live with someone else to go to my high school. I left home right out of high school and came to Washington, D.C., worked for Head Start, lived in Ireland, went to different colleges, and really the first trauma was being diagnosed with the eye disease at 29 and the scary things that were ahead. And my dad said to me, we're in the 20th century. And he's like, you're never going to go blind. Because I said, I would be doing a duet with Stevie Wonder. And he said, first of all, I thought I had a good voice. I really don't. But that started it. And then it really got worse, or I should say the triumph and the tragedy met. I sued the company I work for salary and sexual discrimination in 1990. Then my father killed himself in 1995, and then I dated a con man and lost every dime I had, and then I was hit by the car.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it went, and those three things, my dad's death was 95. I was so vulnerable when the guy came into my life and wooed me, and then 2 years later, I was hit by the car. And I say to people that I landed on an angel mattress because I was surrounded by a synagogue and churches when I was hit by the car. And it was, I had only had my real estate license for 6 months.
Mm.
So I was bankrupt when that happened because
Mm.
of the guy. And I sold 2 houses like the week before I was hit by the car. So when I came out of the hospital, I actually had real money in the bank again. And then it goes from there and it becomes survival. But I met people all along the way after that accident in 1999, one of whom is my trainer. His name is Chris, and he has a place here in Washington, D.C. called Align. His name is Chris Rodasakis, and where he worked at the time, what they did biomechanically was something that was not being done in this country with the body. What that means is you work with your own body weight to heal. I've never had an operation. I have no whole ligaments in my left knee. My right leg broke. I landed on my head. There were lots of injuries. Chris started his own training facility 10 years ago. And at this age, I am in better shape than I was before the accident. But
So
because
incredible.
yeah.
Talk about this. You use your own body weight to heal. Explain what that means a little bit.
So Chris's platform is working with the fascia. So under your top layer of skin, you have the fascia.
Mm.
And he speaks in a scientific way. For me, it is almost like a webbing under the skin that holds everything in place.
Mm-hmm.
In order for your skin to be healthy, that fascia has to be given nutrition and moisture from the inside out. But what Chris does that is so unique is, first of all, he now dissects cadavers, and he works with a group of doctors all over the world. He's really one of the special people because you don't usually hear of a trainer working with doctors going and opening up bodies and dissecting cadavers. And his whole reason for doing that, he said, is how do I know what's under your skin if I can't see it from the inside out? So what he does before you start, and his crew, his team does this as well, just he's who I work with most of all. He aligns your body. He gets everything in alignment because how can you work out if everything is not aligned, right? You could pull something else. So after we do the manipulation of all the muscles and things like that, then we work with weights. And so when I say the body, initially in 2003, when I first started working with them, a lot of the biomechanics is really using your own body weight as weight, right? Yes, of course, we work with weights, real weights and bands and balls and rollers and all those things, but it's your body weight that is initiating the force that's coming from that.
I love that because it's like, I mean, these sorts of things, I love common sense kind of stuff. Like we have all of the things that we need to be in shape, right? We don't need to go to a full-blown gym, not that a gym's a bad thing, but like body weight exercise is some of the best exercise you can do because it's, and you don't need anything. We have all these excuses as to why we need certain things to do certain things, but you really don't, you already have the things you need.
Well, so during COVID, like 14 days after COVID started, Chris and his team put together Zoom classes for us. Now, first of all, nobody even knew what Zoom was that early on. And he did classes every day, Monday through Friday, maybe on Saturday. And he did them in the morning and at night and sometimes in between. And what else did you have to do but hit the mat, right? So I got a yoga mat and I have the balls, I have the rollers, I have all that stuff. And under my sofa became my gym. And he said to me, if you do what I say, I will change your body. So not only was my sight going wonky, but I was working out every day. And it was mentally and physically transformational. And so Chris and I have done a number of videos talking about it because it really was for me sanity and the key to coming out of COVID better than when I went in. But to your point, anybody can do it anywhere, anytime, no offense to a gym, but you have to know what you're doing or you're going to throw your back out.
Yeah, right. So we have to jump into our sponsor real quick and shout out the Connected Leaders Academy. We'll be back in 60 seconds. And when we come back in 60 seconds, I want to find out where this resiliency comes from in you. And I want to also know what let go and let God means to you and how you apply that to your life. We'll talk about that in just 60 seconds.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
All right. So, Carroll, this resiliency that you seem to have in your life, all these tragedies you've gone through, and you bounce back, and you're now better than ever, as you say, healthier than ever. You can see better than ever. I can tell your mindset is incredibly strong. Where does this resiliency come from in you, and how can other people build that in themselves?
Another new question that's no one's ever asked me. I grew up on the Jersey Shore, and my childhood before things went left, right, and off center, my childhood was amazing. We went to the beach every day in the summer. My parents were wonderful parents, and it seemed idyllic. And no matter what happens in life, as things go along. I think when you are a child, your roots are set. And my parents, I'm the firstborn in my family. And I really think that that foundation was set at a very young age. And I think that's what's held me together. And I have really good friends some of whom have been my friends since we were in kindergarten. We didn't have preschool back then. And I know that I can call them anytime and they'd be here for me.
Yeah, those kind of roots, that sort of established. That's interesting, right? You had that established at a very young age. So even as things got rocky and maybe got off track throughout your life, that what would you call that core? Like a steady core,
I think so. I had grandparents, all those old-fashioned things were in place until they weren't.
mhm.
And back then, maybe it was a good thing that people put everything under the rug. Now everybody talks about everything. We didn't go to shrinks back then. We didn't take pills for stuff. And my dad was an athlete. He was a really big deal athlete. And I think maybe having that instilled in me, and he ate healthy. I mean, yes, I had no idea he had depression and that at 67 years old, he was going to take his life.
Mm.
But as a child, none of that was evident.
Mm.
There really was that glow around our lives. And so when it did go off kilter, the only thing I knew to do was to move forward.
So you didn't wallow in it. You just moved forward through it.
Yeah, I don't remember ever wallowing. Even the 4 weeks that I was in the hospital after I was hit by the car, all I wanted to do was get out and start my life again. Maybe part of that is delusion. Maybe I just didn't believe that there was anything wrong. And so, when the con person took all my money, I just had to keep on going. I had to survive.
Mm. That's
And
really, oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I just think that's really interesting because the same situation can happen to two different people, and one person sees it. Maybe they don't see it as a gift at the time, but they use it to grow stronger. The other person, that thing is like a curse to them that they carry with them the rest of their life. And some of that I feel like is just personality or like maybe genetics. I'm not totally sure because I'm not a doctor or anybody who would understand any of that. But it's just interesting that how you said that the older generation kind of not talking about things and moving forward was a healthy thing to do. There is something really to be said for that. I mean, I was born just naturally a sensitive person, probably too sensitive. Well, whatever. Maybe not too sensitive, but I was just very sensitive. It's a gift
I
and a
am.
curse, depending on
Yeah.
how I looked at it. My son's the same way, very sensitive. And so I think to myself, man, there's so many things in my life that impacted me way more than I feel like they needed to, but I didn't know how to have them impact me any other way. I didn't have the tools to change that. And some people do have those tools. So I guess a question for you coming from all that is, how do you keep moving forward? What is the key? What are the keys for you that help you to push past those things? Or is it not even a thought for you? It's just, nope, I'm just going forward and going to keep moving.
I think the more I know, the more I don't know. And so it is about keep moving, but I also do a lot of reading. I listen to inspirational things, The Go-Giver being part of that. But I'll just digress for a moment when you say genetic. My mother is 93. She only stopped driving a year and a half ago. And if she's home, she'll go to bed, but she's still at the beach every single day in the summer. She would go to the opening of an envelope. If you ask her to go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner, she will get out of bed and get dressed and go. So when you use that word genetic, I watch her now as I get older, and she's obviously getting older, and she's getting, she has her days. She had some hard situations last year, but she doesn't want to leave, and all of her friends, most of them are gone. And now my sister has her doing long walks, and she told her she has to get her legs in walking the boardwalk ready. So she can visit people up and down the beach boardwalk.
And I think first of all, I love she would go to an opening of an envelope. I've never heard that before. That's really that's really funny. Um, but I really love I have a mentor, his name's Ray, and Ray's in his mid 80s, and he sounds like your mom, like where the guy has no slowdown in him. I mean, he's writing a book right now in his mid 80s, and he's as spry as anybody else that I know, and is with it and quick. And I want to be I'm around him every week for a couple of hours, just like he's my mentor. We talk about everything, but I'd like to soak up like him because I need like that in my life. Like I have a proof as I move forward throughout life. While I spent hundreds of hours with somebody who was in their mid 80s, and as he goes on in his age, who like just mentally could run laps around me all day long. And it's so cool to be around people like that. And so to have somebody like that as your mom, that's huge. So that does explain some of that. But I think the osmosis of being around those people also that rubs off on you, right? So I want to ask you, let go and let God. I mean, if you're a Christian, you've heard that statement so many times, and it can mean different things depending on who's saying it. How have you let go and let God? What does that mean for you in your life?
Well, it means more every day, because sometimes I realize I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't, right? So what it means for me is have faith and trust that God is guiding me. And I had an epiphany last week. I heard a friend died of cancer, two other people, three, four other people have it. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to speak and talk about God's grace and how I've gotten here and how I'm going to keep going, and if I'm going to help others, then I have to go even deeper. My faith has to go even deeper. And I have to believe, every single core of my being has to believe that everything's going to be fine. So when I say that to you, it's a work in progress, because there's bad days. There's real estate challenges every minute. I've not had great years. Am I starting to have them again? Starting. And that's why doing this kind of time, quality time with you, is so important, because staying with that theme of let go and let God. And you asked me before, like there's the people that are not like me, that do have anxiety and can't pull it together. What do I say to them? And I say to them, do what I just said. Stop and go deeper. Pray, meditate. I meditate twice a day for 20 minutes. I was on a Zoom earlier with realtors all over the country, and a guy in there talked about his meditation using Dr. Joe Dispenza in the morning and at night. And he said all he does is he just gets quiet for 20 minutes, maybe once, maybe twice a day. And he just says to himself, I'm getting through this. And he said to me, and it's the second person that said this to me in a week. They said, you don't have to be positive all the time. And I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean? And it was really honoring your authenticity, writing down, no, maybe you didn't have a great day. Maybe I didn't sell a house. Maybe I didn't, like all those things, but honor that you try. And I think that's what I would say to your listeners. It's finding that worthiness within ourselves. And that's where I ask for God's help, is finding that really deep place. And to access it is not always easy. But once you do, you can keep going back there.
Well, like you said about the quiet place, to access it, you have to, or at least for me, I mean, sometimes it'll just come to me just through things that I'm doing. I get inspired by podcasts like this. These conversations inspire me and give me that feeling of peace. But you got to get quiet with God. Like you said, you got to sit down. So when I sit down and pray and, read my Bible, half of that or more is just me sitting in silence and
Yeah.
not doing anything and just soaking in that presence, because that's what I need. It's like when you go to the gas station, right? You got to pull your car up and shut it off and let it sit there, and you got to fill it up. We as human beings, we got to stop. We got to pull over and stop, open our gas tank up, which is like our heart, I guess. I'm making this up as I go right now. We open our heart up and let God pour into us and fill us up. We can't be running around all day expecting God to fill us up. We got to stop and build that relationship, just like your car has to build the relationship with the gas pump. That's the analogy I'm going with right now.
No, I love that. I love that, even if you're in like a little scooter. But
Yeah.
what you just said, what really struck me about what you just said is having this conversation is not new, because I have it with a friend of mine, with my friend Bob. We talk about God every day, but not with everybody. Like if somebody's listening to this that knows me, I don't talk to everybody about God
Hmm.
because it's a very personal time. But I see Mark Wahlberg in these Hallow commercials, and it makes me so happy. I have Hallow. I do the rosary with Hallow every single day. And I think that talking out loud like this is really necessary. People need to know that, yes, it is. Talking to God is like getting high test.
Hmm.
And Mark Wahlberg is part of my inspiration. I'm kidding. But I talk to God differently now every single day. I pray in a new way. I talk in a different way. And, I have spirit guides. I have angels. I have battery candles in my room. Like I have a whole little ritual that I do very privately. And like you just said, it lights me up from the inside out.
I love it. It is, and with Mark Wahlberg, I mean, I, I know, I do know what you mean though about inspiration, because a guy at his level in Hollywood to be as bold as he's being in his faith is super inspiring. And we're seeing revival right now in the world of like major celebrities who are coming out. I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. I'm a, Catholic. Like they're putting that out there. And that is bold. That's bold. And we need more of that, because that's, whether people realize it or not, that's the void that they're missing. That void they're trying to dump everything into can only be filled up by God. That God put
But
eternity in our hearts, and that eternity can only be filled by Him.
And I think, and I'm not going to go down a political lane when I say this, I'm going to say that our faith in God is real faith.
Hmm.
We, we didn't elect God, God elected us.
Hmm.
And it's our faith in God, and God obviously loves us because he put us on this earth to live a life, and he's watching over us. And we don't have to vote. We don't have to pay him anything. All we have to do is be. So right back to your question of let go and let God, our conversation back and forth is what has to be spread in this world is our faith and our sanity.
Hmm.
When you talked about whether finding this spirit from within, it's God, right? And it's joy, and it's believing in yourself. And I think that's the thing is, as I am in these podcasts and talking with a mic, it's giving me what you just said, greater inspiration to know that part of my purpose on this planet is to work with people like you and Noemi, and to talk and help people in any way we can.
Absolutely. I love it. That's really, so this is inspiring. We got to wrap this episode up. This has been really good, because earlier you said about your real estate, you said, I'm starting to have great days again. I'm starting to have great years again. And I love that, because I mean, you're in your 70s, right? Like you've lived a life and you're still saying, I'm starting to get into my great years. Like, I find that so exciting, so invigorating. I'm 40, right? I've always felt for some reason like my 50s will be my best decade ever. I've had that feeling since I was young. And it's wonderful to hear. I know my mentor, Ray, right? He's in his mid 80s. I talked to him and I'm like, holy cow, man, this guy, he's just on fire for life. Like he's still just on fire. Like he still wakes up every day, tap dancing out of bed, ready to go. And so it gives you such inspiration because you meet some people that, they were done in their 20s. Their life had pretty much finished in their 30s. It's just their mindset. But it's really just beginning.
I'll say this to you because I think it'll add to closing this out. My dad took his life when he was 67. And leading to my 67th birthday, I was freaked out. Thought, oh, am I gonna like totally kill myself? Like, is this gonna? And like a week to a month before, I thought it was an epiphany. And I felt him say to me, I couldn't go any farther. Here's the baton. From 67 on will be the best years of your life. I couldn't do it, but you can. And
Wow.
that's really when my life began to change, was at 67.
Wow. That's beautiful. Wow. Okay. Well, Carroll, thank you so much. This has been a great episode. It's been really interesting and fascinating to talk to you. If people want to get a hold of you, they can find you on Instagram and Facebook. Carroll Dey, that's CarrollDey. You'll be tagged in this episode so people can find you there. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
Yeah, better to get me on Facebook than Instagram. I'm not Insta yet as much as I should be, but you'll find me because Rob just gave you.
Yeah, I gave you the
Rob just
direct
gave me
connection.
my full name, but I thank you so much. And I'm actually seeing a cross behind you. All of a sudden, a cross just appeared. So
It's been there. You're just now seeing it.
Yeah, I just thought it. Wow.
Well, Carroll, thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
Thank you, Rob.